Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into the latest blog update here on the Gavin Partridge YouTube channel. So I'm going to do a video talking about the absolute historic things that have been going on over the past few days with the resignation of Prime Minister Liz Truss and yet another leadership contest for the Conservative Party. So in a little while we will have a look at the latest prediction from electoral councils. We don't normally do this sort of mid-month. We don't normally have a look at this like once a month, but I thought we'd have a look at it while I'm here. But the main reason for this video is going to be to have a look at the list of prime ministers in the United Kingdom by length of tenure, because Liz Truss's resignation will place her at the very bottom of the list in terms of prime ministers by tenure. And again, just to highlight the historic times that we are living in. We are living in absolutely historic times, and I'm going to show you in a moment, where she is on the list of prime ministers by tenure. She's at the bottom, and you'll see, who she's been competing with for shortest reigned prime minister. So I shall get on with that for you in a moment. But if you're enjoying the vlogs on the channel in these historic times, then please do you like, share and subscribe. And thank you so much everybody for doing that. So we are at the list of prime ministers of the United Kingdom by length of tenure page at Wikipedia. We got all of the prime ministers listed by their length of tenure here. We've had 56 prime ministers. Liz Truss is the 56th. And there she is. So far, she has managed to do 45 days as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. So she is at 50, she's the 56th Prime Minister, but she's at 56 out of 56 in terms of the length of tenure. She has done 45 days in total. She's got a few more days to add to that. The Conservatives may get their Prime Minister on Monday, possibly on Friday next week. So it's possible she'll get into the 50s. But look how short she is of the previous shortest reigned Prime Minister, who was George Canning. Now, George Canning reigned for 119 days as Prime Minister. So she's not even close, actually, to George Canning. And he has had the record of shortest reigning Prime Minister for a very, very, very long time, actually, because his reign was from April to, I think, September. Let's have a quick look. His reign was from April to August, 12th of April, 1827, to the 8th of April, to the 8th of August, I should say, 1827, 119 days, and unfortunately he died. That's the reason he stopped being Prime Minister after 119 days. So the day he stopped being Prime Minister was also the day that he died. So he has held that for, what is that? That's like 195 years, I think. For 195 years, George Canning has been our shortest serving Prime Minister by tenure, but Liz Truss has absolutely demolished that. She's nowhere close. She's going to be nowhere close. She's going to be like at least 2 months short of the 4 months that George Canning managed to do before he died. Others in the list, of shortest reigning prime minister, number 54, we've got somebody called the Viscount Godrich, and he also was in 1827. So that was a very, very tumultuous year. The year of 1827. The Tory party, I think, was splitting, and the Conservative party, as we know it, Robert Peel was about to start the Conservative Party in the 1830s. So this is all a very tumultuous time for like Tory and Whig and Conservative and Liberal politics. So also in 1827 we have the Viscount Godric. He managed to do 144 days. After that we have at number 53 Andrew Bonar Law. Now he was a big name actually back in the early part of the 20th century. And he took over for 211 days in 1922 after the coalition government collapsed. So before him, Lloyd George, the Liberal leader, Lloyd George, was the Prime Minister of a coalition government between, I think, National Liberals and Conservatives, and the official Liberal Party. Had split off and become like the opposition. And, that's where the name, the 1922 committee is so much about. The men in grey suits who keep coming and going to tell these prime ministers that their time is up. That's where it comes from. The end of the coalition government. The Conservatives pulled the plug on Lloyd George as Prime Minister, and and the coalition that had taken place since I think around 1916, something like that, in the middle of the First World War. The Conservative Party decided to pull the plug on Lloyd George, and that's where the 1922 committee comes from. But Andrew Bonar Law took over for 211 days, and he ended up resigning due to illness. I think he had cancer. I think he had head and neck cancer, throat cancer, something like that, and he died shortly afterwards. After that, at number 52, we've got the Duke of Devonshire, who was a Whig, as we think of the Liberal Party, and he was Prime Minister for 225 days in 1756. So we're going a long way back. Now, then we've got the Earl of Shelburne, who was Prime Minister 266 days in 1782. We've got the Earl of Bute, who managed to do 317 days. And he was Prime Minister for 370 days in 1762. How Sir Alec Douglas-Home, that's a more recent example. Sir Alec Douglas-Home, he did just under a year, 363 days in 1963 to 64, and he came at the end of a long run of Conservative governments. They was in from 1951 to 1964. They had, similar to now, I suppose, in some ways, had several prime ministers, started with Churchill. Then we had Anthony Eden, who was quite short-reigned because he got himself involved in a Suez crisis, and so he was quickly on his way out. Then Harold Macmillan, Supermac, was Prime Minister for quite a few years, and then at the very end of the run, Macmillan resigns and Sir Alec Douglas-Home comes in for just under a year before the Conservatives lose the 1964 general election to Harold Wilson and the Labour Party. And then after that, we've got these prime ministers who managed to make it to 1 year, 2 year, and whatnot. There is Anthony Eden. He did 1 year, 279 days, started in 1955, resigned due to illness. Apparently, he had a dodgy gallbladder, but really he was thrown out after the Suez crisis. So yeah, poor old Liz down there, 56 out of 56, and absolutely thrashing George Canning, who had that record of shortest Prime Minister for 195 years from 1827. If you want to see the longest, I'll link this in the description. You want to see the longest, we won't go through all of them. If you want to see the longest reign Prime Ministers, here they are. So the longest reigned actually was Sir Robert Walpole, who reigned from 1721. And he managed to do 20 years and 314 days. He was a Whig, one of our first prime ministers. We have William Pitt the Younger, who was a Tory. He managed to do 18 years. The Earl of Liverpool, also a Tory, he managed to do 14 years. The Marquess of Salisbury, Robert Salisbury, he managed to do 13 years and 252 days in 3 separate terms. Started in 1885, and I think he went to around 1903, 1904. Something like that. Bob's your uncle. If you ever heard of saying Bob's your uncle, that was him, Robert Salisbury. His nephew, Arthur Balfour, succeeded him. And he also wasn't very popular, and the Conservatives had a big defeat in the 1906 general election under the leadership of Arthur Balfour, and so that's where the Bob's your uncle comes from. Gladstone did 5 years, famous Liberal. Talking about Gladstone's at number 5. He did 12 years, famous Liberal Prime Minister. That was over 4 terms. Lord North lost America, but he managed to do 12 years. Mrs. Thatcher, Margaret Thatcher, did 11 years, 208 days. She's at number 7. Henry Felham did 10 years. And Tony Blair, of course, quite recently, did 10 years as well, did a decade. Viscount Palmerston is at number 10. He managed 9 years. And Asquith, who was the rival to Lloyd George, he managed to do 8 years. So they're like the top 10, top 11. And whatnot, but Liz, I'm afraid, is going to get nowhere to that. She is at the very bottom, and we're amazed. I doubt that will ever be beaten. You never say never, just as with the weather in politics. You never say never, but I really can't see that ever being beaten, actually. George Canning at 119 days, his record lasted for 195 years. And who knows? But I would be very, very, very surprised if Liz Truss, if there's a Prime Minister that ever, has a shorter run than Elizabeth Truss. So, extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary and historic times. Of course, what the public are making of all of this is a very good news for the Conservative Party. Current prediction from electoral calculus updated on the 15th of October is for the Conservatives. This is all the opinion polls conducted, presumably, in the month from the 15th September, 15th of October. I'm so sorry, but if you're enjoying this video, please can you like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much. So, from the 15th September, 15th October will be the run of these opinion polls. Actually, no, that's wrong. It's the 5th of October to the 14th. Oh, right, I thought I did over 30 days, but apparently not. So, just that sort of 5th to 14th October period has the Conservatives on 24%. Give them a central prediction of just 48 seats. At the low end, they could go down to 18. At the high end, they could go they could have 192 seats, which would be a pretty disastrous result, really. Labour on 50% of the vote, which gives them a central prediction of 507 seats. They could go as high as 557 or as low as 369. Liberal on 10% of the vote, so that gives them a central prediction of 19 seats. They could go as high as 38 or as low as 8. Nothing doing for Reform. Greens keep their 1 seat. SNP 52 seats. They could go to 54, get 54 out of 54, could go as low as 25. And so a central prediction for Labour to have a majority of 364 seats. And bear in mind the Tony Blair landslide majorities of 1997 and 2001, I think was around 180, 170, 180, something like that. So, that was a pretty catastrophic result for Conservatives. It took them over a decade to recover. But obviously, 3-6-4 majority and Conservatives down to 48 seats would be complete and utter wipeout. There is the potential there for the SNP to become the official opposition. Somebody asked at the in the last video, the opinion poll tracker video, someone asked in the comments, if the Conservative Party went down to 18 seats, or in here 48 seats even, and the SNP was on 52 seats, why wouldn't the SNP become the official opposition? I think they would, actually. Although they're a Scottish-only party and they don't stand candidates in other parts of the country, I don't think that would actually make any difference to their status as official opposition, because, you know, all that counts, I think, I'm not 100% sure, but all that counts, I think, is like seats on benches, you know, bottoms on benches. And if the SNP has 52 seats, and that is more than any other opposition party, then therefore the SNP become the official opposition. I think that's right, but I'm not absolutely 100% sure. And it gets even worse with the Conservatives. Recent opinion polls have had the Conservatives like nearly with a 40% deficit. So, I mean, we've got YouGov here that was released today, has Labour with a 37% lead. Labour on 56%, Conservatives on 19%. That would be pretty much wipeout. And this poll, People Polling, gives Labour a 39% lead on 53%, and the Conservatives are down to 14%. And with that, actually, they lose every single seat, you know, in the seat calculator, electoral calculus. The Conservatives, with that share, 14% to Labour, 53%, would lose every single seat on the current boundaries. On new boundaries, they would retain one seat. Complete and total oblivion for the Conservatives. And so that is a reason that they have, you know, pushed Liz overboard. Well, they've pushed her under the bus, you know, because they are facing an absolute extinction event based on current opinion polling, and so that's the reason, you know, that's the reason that she is out, and they're looking to bring in a new leader. Who that leader will be and whether they'll be able to turn things around, of course, we have to wait and see about that. So, I'll just put webcam back up. So, yeah, I thought you'd enjoy that little look at history. You know, we're in historic times. This is history in the making. We have never lived through anything like this, you know, since the death of Canning. And even in his case, he managed to do like double the length that Liz Truss has managed to do. So extraordinary times, absolutely unbelievable. And we just wait and see what's going to happen next. But clearly, you know, we are in very, very historic, groundbreaking times now politically. Right, so we will have the next opinion poll tracker at the beginning of November. I assume it will be pretty grim for the Conservatives. We will know by then who is the Prime Minister, replacing the shortest reigning Prime Minister in history, Liz Truss. We will know by then who that Prime Minister is, and we should wait and see how opinion responds. If you've enjoyed this video, please do you like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. And, yeah, if you can drop a comment as well, that would be absolutely fantastic. And we'll be back with more vlogs very, very soon. Bye for now.